Hey everybody, Stephen Bogran, and today I'm talking about how stress management can help with fat loss.
My name is Steven, and this is our video about helping fitness things. And I work for physique, and I am just a guy with a fitness thing for you.
Alright, happy week. I don't know, happy day, unhappy. You know what? Let it be whatever kind of time frame you want it to be. Today we're going to talk about stress management and how that can help impact fat loss and some of my favorite stress management techniques. And this is not the easy one. It is not easy to say, hey, my life stress, my work stress, my mental stress, my physical stress might be impacting in a negative way my ability to make progress towards my physique goals. Because none of us want to have to take on what is probably, for a lot of us, a more monumental and more difficult task. It's not quite as simple. We might have some things that we have for coping mechanisms that aren't necessarily helping us out. And it might just be one of those things where we are so, I like to call it dog smelled to stress, that we don't even necessarily recognize it as much. And what that means is if you live in a house with dogs, you don't smell dogs. But when somebody who doesn't have dogs comes in, they could give you a little sniff sniff. Yeah, that's right. So the biggest impactor in stress is going to be the fact that it's going to kind of have a downstream effect and impact. Stress gives us this fight or flight response, right? And so a lot of times it makes us into this kind of anxiety ridden, we're on it. So maybe we're not digesting food as well. Maybe we're not sleeping as well. It's harder to get to sleep, or we don't get the same kind of quality sleep. It can funk with digestion, right? It can change the peristalsis, or the speed at which food goes through our digestive tract and system, and how well we do with getting nutrients out of that, breaking that down, and really truly getting what we want from our food intake. And with those other things, it also can mean that we're just maybe holding extra inflammation, right? If we don't have good digestion, if we're eating stuff that's maybe not going along with it, that creates digestive stress. Cool. It's just inflammation on inflammation, and especially if we're really training hard and training a lot, that's going to add to it as well. With all these kinds of factors, impacts, thought processes, things that stress does to us, we have to be able to find some positive, beneficial ways in which we manage it. Because for a lot of individuals out there, the way that we manage stress is through things that make us feel good. One of those being food, and we all know how that can end. Stress builds up, all of a sudden hunger's building up, and we're going ham on the honey baked ham. I don't know why I'm on a ham thing. Anyways, we're eating and overeating on our diet, and that's creating even more negative progress for us. So finding these positive stress management techniques can be so pivotal for our success when it comes to body composition, our physique goals, putting on muscle, and performance. And so making sure that, not that we're no stress, not that we're all the stress, but that we're simply within this kind of homeostatic range of stress that we can manage well and still make progress. And that's going to be a little bit different for everybody, but one of the best ways, my number one, my favorite, my absolute favorite stress management technique to help us stay in that range and be in a good spot is in fact meditation. It's simple, it's straightforward, it's not necessarily easy, but once you get the hang of it, it works beautifully. Not only does it help us to manage stress, to become more calm, it also really helps with something we call mindfulness. And this mindfulness is something that I think is just absolutely beneficial for people to work on in general. It just means we're paying attention, we're more in tune with our body at a lower stress point. So now, instead of realizing and recognizing that we're stressed when we're at an 8 out of 10, we are now starting to recognize that stress building up. We're maybe at like a 5 or a 6. So now, because it's at a lower point and because we're more distant from our like stress threshold, so to speak, we can now nip it in the bud a little bit earlier and make sure that we are getting into that stress management technique at an easier point for us to be successful, to manage it and to bring it back into line within our happy range. And so meditation helps with that because it teaches us and shows us what it's like to be at a lower stress. And there's a couple times that I really like meditation. I like it before bedtime to help with getting better sleep. And I like it early in the morning to start the day off on a fresh note. There's plenty of great apps out there like the Calm app. Things like Oura Ring and their app are going to have some meditation stuff. And there's also a ton of guided meditation out there for free on things like YouTube. So there are plenty of great options out there for you to get into it. You are going to have to be aware that it is a learning experience. It's not going to be a start it up and you're perfect. It takes a lot of us some time to get good at it. And if you're like me with the ADHD, it might take you even a little bit more time. But again, once you master it, it is an amazing skill to have in our arsenal for good physique development and stress management. Now, the second one that I really like is green exercises. Now, that's what we call it. And now I live here in Florida, and it's a little brisk out today, but it's really not bad. It's in the 50s. Realistically, I can go outdoors, get some sunlight, some UV exposure. Huberman would love me. See some green and get outdoors just for some steps and exercise. Green exercise is also a great form of stress management. It allows us to get outside, get into nature, get away from maybe stressing us out in that moment, what we may be having issues with, and it provides us a little bit of a break there. Green exercise can be super beneficial. That might mean you're walking, it might mean a jog, it might mean a bike ride, it might mean a hike, it might mean taking the dogs out, it might mean playing a little bit of shooting the hoops over at the local basketball court. I am old and uncool. So whatever it means for you, it could mean that for you. Those are my favorite two. Obviously, there's plenty of other things like belly breathing, diaphragmatic breathing, which is oftentimes a part of things like meditation. There's progressive relaxation techniques. There are plenty of options. The biggest thing is that you find what works for you, and that we don't get caught up in the gym is my stress management, the gym is my therapy. Because although it might be something that takes us away from a lot of other distractions, and it may be something that makes us mentally feel better, if we are at the top end of our stress limits and we're adding a lot of physiological stress, even though it might be helping us in one aspect, it might not be helping us as much on the other aspects. We do want to be aware of not getting into the habit of doing too much all the time and doing things that maybe disassociate or just take us away from really paying attention to how we get that stress into a better spot. I'm gonna leave it there today, a little bit shorter than normal, but I hope this helps. I hope it gives you a couple options and ideas for how to help better manage your stress so that you are making better progress towards your physique and fat loss goals.